I think now more of my struggles is just like trying to unravel everything from like my younger self, like the issues I had with like growing up being black and things, like because it does follow you for like a long time. It was just hard to like navigate just accepting who I am, which is something I've been working on so much now. My name is Somto, but I usually go by Somto, it's just easier to say. And I'm 19 and I was currently taking a gap year, but I'm going to be starting university soon. And yeah, I'm going to be studying medicine. I moved to Belfast when I was 9. I grew up in Nigeria for like the first half of my life, and then I've been here for like 12 years now, which is so weird to say.
So how would you identify then? Were you born in Nigeria?
Yeah, I was born in Nigeria, so I identify as like African, black African. Even though I've been here for like 3/4 of my life nearly, it still feels like I identify as Nigerian rather than like Irish and things like that. First question, I guess, where are you from? Like there was one day, this lady, she was like asking me where I was from, and she's like, oh, did you come here by boat? And I was like, what? Like I was so shocked, like your face, literally was my reaction there. I was like, what? And she was like, well, like how did you get here? And I was like, on a plane. And like I think she just expects that like from what she sees on the media and things like that people are all like the same in the way like we're all, because my parents were fairly well off and they had their own ambitions and stuff back home, but to an extent they sacrificed a lot so that me and my siblings could have a better life here. So it wasn't as if they weren't happy back home, but they just wanted us to perhaps get the education and things here. But then people are shocked when they're like, oh, you're not from like a place of poverty, like begging to like come over here. Like she thought like, oh, perhaps I was like a refugee and like that was coming here was my only option and stuff. So it was quite like shocking. She was like shocked when I said that, and she's like, oh, you're so well spoken. And I'm like, what do you expect? I've been here most of my life. So there's sort of an ignorance I've noticed when people like they think they're being really friendly, but sometimes it comes across as like really condescending. And it's just like small microaggressions you'll hear on the daily where it just like reminds you that you're not from here in a way, or even if you are, it's like a reminder that you're not truly like everyone else around you.
And the barrier always seems to be because of the colour of your skin.
Yeah, exactly, which is something we're never going to change.
And like what steps did you take to kind of make yourself feel like you want to accept who you are?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, like the things I would do, like literally I remember even at P7 I was like, yeah, like, oh, how to make your lips smaller. And then I saw this thing on like WikiHow and it was like, oh, use lip liner. And I went to like my mum's makeup bag and I was like trying to like make my lipstick smaller with like lip liner, and mum was like, what are you doing? And like trying to explain that, like I was almost like ashamed to say, but like no, I think like seeing more people in the media that looked like me really helped a lot. And it was like from just not just this stereotypical like black girl or black women on the media, it was like loads of people with different experiences really helped a lot to like make me feel like, oh, like maybe I am like, I don't need to look at myself as if I'm different. Like I can accept those differences and it doesn't matter. Also getting to a stage where I had like more friends from different backgrounds and things really helped me just to embrace my culture. And just like, because I have younger siblings and I never want them to like feel the same way I did growing up. So it's just like always making them feel as if like, oh, being black is great. Like we have so much culture and everything. Like you have all these people around you if you ever need anything. So it's just like being a role model to them sort of helped me work on myself really, and the things like I had to deal with when it comes to accepting who you are as a black person.
And what kind of insecurities did you used to have?
I think it was just like features, like you look at magazines and you're saying like, oh, like having a slimmer nose and like obviously like have like a what people deem as like a bigger nose, which is a thing of being African most of the time, or bigger lips, hair. Like even to this day I struggle with wearing my natural hair out. It's such a big thing. Like even for shoots I would have for modelling, sometimes they're like, oh, can you wear your natural hair out? And I'm just like, like okay, I will. But it's just like showing people those images, like they could look nice and my mom's like, oh, you look beautiful, you look great, but it's just like struggling to get to the point where I'm accepting like that's who I am, that's what comes out of my hair and stuff like that, and I don't have to look like other girls. Like for years up until I got to secondary school I used to relax my hair like religiously, bone straight, and even then I would still wear it in braids or something else just because I didn't want anyone to see it. But now I'm slowly getting to the point like, okay, do the natural hair journey, try and wear it out more often. It just takes time, I guess, to slowly accept who you are. Definitely YouTube and looking at like media and stuff and seeing people who were also on the same journey did help a lot to like accept features in myself I wasn't happy with. Or even like when it came to like my accent, when I first moved here, it was completely different. And I found myself, me and my sister, trying to like emulate everyone around us and like trying to like, when it came to certain words, like we'd say and someone would like say, oh, you said that wrong, and it'd just be like really embarrassing, and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. That's why I think I was so quiet and like not outspoken at all when I was younger, and it's something I, just to like sort of fit in and not say much, and like it's something I've been trying to grow out of recently, but it's still so hard to like change your like what you're set in when it like comes to stuff like that. It's just, yeah.
And what's your modelling experience been like?
I think because I started modelling when I was 14, 15, and in the agency I was like the only black girl. Even with my hair, like there would be no one on set that could do anything with it, and they would just be like, oh, it's fine like that, and I would look in the mirror and I'm like, are you sure? Like I haven't done anything, it's just washed. Like, and they were like, yeah, it's fine, we'll take photos. And I would look at it afterwards and be like, that does not look right. Or like they would take more time on like the younger like white models, like hair and makeup and stuff, and then there would be like maybe one foundation, this is close enough, we'll just do that. And there's just like, or getting me to bring in my own makeup to one, I'm just like, you're asking a black model to be here, but then you're not providing things for them. Or they'd be like, oh, can you get your hair done a certain way for this shoot? And I'm like, my mum's spending hours doing my hair, and like I'm not being like, she's not being compensated in any sort of way. But there'll be like maybe 2 or 3 hairstylists there to sort out everyone's hair and stuff. So I think in a way it took time for them to actually like think about like, oh, we actually have black models here, let's make sure we have like proper foundations, proper like hair products and things. Like one of my most like recent shoots, like the hairstylist had like Cantu products and like shea moisture and like everything like all sitting there, and I was so happy just to like see that, like the effort. And like he had like a mood board of different hairstyles and things, and I was like, it just makes a difference like in the experience when you're going there and you're like, someone's actually bothered to like try. And
the minimum,
exactly, the bare minimum, but you're still like, wow, this is amazing, thank you for doing this, which is quite sad. Like that's what should be expected, but for many years it wasn't like that. Like if I look back at all my older modelling shoots, it's literally just me with like my natural hair just washed, nothing done to it, and they're like, yeah, let's throw her on in front of the camera. To me, it just makes me feel like, oh, like I'm not valued. Like it's just, we'll just throw away and just add the black model in there, just to like diversity, tick it off.
What struggles do you feel like you face as like a black woman?
I think now more of my struggles is just like trying to unravel everything from like my younger self, like the issues I had with like growing up being black and things, like because it does follow you for like a long time, and it's just like you'll think a certain way and you're like, oh no, like I shouldn't think of myself like that, like it doesn't like matter, like, and it's just growing to like accept yourself. And also like now in terms of like academia and things like that, and having to like prove yourself, like my dad's always like, oh yeah, because you're black you're gonna have to work like 10 times harder than like your white counterpart, and it's just feeling like you're always under pressure in some way. Also people's reactions there when they see you performing well, they're like, oh that's surprising, and I'm like, what do you want? Like you want me to perform well, but then when I am, it's almost as if you're questioning it. So it's just hard to like navigate just accepting who I am, which is something I've been working on so much now. Because being the eldest as well, I feel like you're sort of the first person, like especially moving here, so I was like the first to do everything, and like my parents were learning about things here just as I was like learning about things there, so it's sort of like you're the experimental child and everything. So it's like a lot of pressure to like not only like adapt to like living here, but you also feel like you have to be a support for your parents as well, because my parents like moving over here I'm sure was so difficult for them, having virtually no one. So it's like, oh, I have to be there for my parents, and then I have these struggles from school and just being like the only black girl here and my siblings and things like that. I was just so much pressure, and I can imagine it was a lot for my parents as well. But it's just something like you've just grown up to like accept and get used to, I suppose.
So important for us to have these conversations in a Northern Irish context, because I just feel like it just doesn't exist.
It's completely different, and I think people are only recently trying to have these conversations, and like I'm so glad it's happening, but I'm just like, why didn't it happen sooner? And like I just wished like there were these conversations earlier on where like, so I could like, even watching something like this and being like, oh, this person actually has like similar like journey to me, and like I'm not alone in this, even though you know you're not, but it's just reassuring sometimes to hear someone else say that.
What is one thing you've learned about yourself in the last year?
One thing I've learned, I think it's just like I'm more resilient than I think, because I like this time last year I was like, I thought I was going away to uni and things just went upside down. And it was just like, then especially the whole over the summer, people questioning what it meant to be black and like questioning my own experiences. It was like unpacking a lot and just thinking about, okay, where's my life at? What are my goals? And like to an extent it was like realizing that yes, I'm black, but there's so many other parts of me that's also important in my like identity. And it's like, just that's not the biggest part. Like it's there, but it's not the biggest part of who I am as a person. So it's like just learning so much about myself and realizing like I have so many goals and dreams, and like I shouldn't let the way I felt about myself when I'm younger limit the goals and things I can reach and things like that. So it's just learning to accept myself and realize like I'm a lot stronger mentally than I think I am, and I can achieve so much.
What's one piece of advice you would tell your younger self?
Well, I think I'd say to my younger self to just try not to let how you feel about yourself get to you. Growing up, it's not that I hated who I was as a person, but to an extent I was just like, oh, I wish I could be someone else. But who I was perfectly fine. And I just wish like when I was younger I was more like outspoken and more happier with who I was as a person. Just like had the opportunity, like if I could go back I'd just say, you're doing great, just keep doing what you're doing, like don't worry about like all these things, like just knowing that those differences are beautiful, and like just be happy with who you are as a person. Like you'll come to a stage in your life where you know what, you're like, you know what, who cares, I'm happy with this. But it's just obviously at that age, to me it like meant the world, and like looking at myself in the mirror and being like, I'm so different to all my peers, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I just wish I could say that. I think that would have helped with the journey.